Okay, look at the first example. We have two different things, okay? We have calendar years, which are the years. 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. And this data, is being represented is how many species were identified. So if we're looking at the number, it starts kind of high, and then it goes kind of low, right? Yeah. So when we go to graph this out, 96 and 91, 96, 91, 97, 79, we can see that it's trending down. Do we see that?
But it went back up.
But
Wait,
look,
it went back down.
look at 2001 and 2002.
Yeah.
So it's going 10 and then 9, and it was 11 on 99. So our pattern, all the data, this is heading negative, it's heading down, okay? If the graph were going the other direction and this were flipped, it would be increasing, okay? So the trend that's happening is it started large and now it's down to near to nothing. Very little. So if we're using a correlation on this graph, we call this a negative correlation. It's heading down. Okay?
So it was high, now it's going down?
What's that?
It was
Yeah,
high,
if
now
it's right. And are you shading up or down? Yeah, down. So that's an easy way to remember it. So positive correlation headed up, negative correlation headed down. If you can't tell what's going on, we call it no correlation, or none.
So it's negative.
Yes, this one's negative.
Oh, that's how you do it.
Okay, so any questions on these two so far? There's no math involved, right?
No.
It's just describing what's happening in a graph after you graph. Okay, test scores. Test scores in Fortnite. Is it positive or negative? Negative. It's heading down. Okay, now we have an example here. Choose a scatter plot. By the way, this is what a scatter plot is. It's data that's on a graph and it's kind of all over the place, right? So choose a scatter plot that best represents the number of days since a sunflower was planted and its height. So let's talk about these. Obviously you can't start high and go low, right? What happens when you plant a sunflower? Or if you guys have seen corn, you ever driven by a cornfield right when they plant it? What happens when you go back 2 weeks later? It's crazy high, right? You go back 3-4 weeks later and it's 9 foot tall. Yeah, it grows very, very fast. So you know it's being planted in the ground, right? And then it's increasing up. So could it possibly be this one?
No.
No, because it's not going to start at its height and go down. This is a negative correlation, so it can't be this one. What's that? Under the right circumstances with fertilizer and so on, it's optimal. And they're planting it at a certain time that it grows, that the growth cycle is the highest. Okay, go ahead. It is the last one. Now let's talk about this. This one here, the graph, it's negative, so that means it's way down in the ground. If it were like right here, it would make sense, but this one has a negative correlation or negative value, so it couldn't be this one. This one seems to make the most sense. It was planted and then it increased steadily in growth. So this is a positive correlation. This would be the correct one. Okay? Now, do me a favor. Go to your worksheet, because your worksheet's going to be your do now. And let's take a look at it. So you have 8 questions, okay? Number 1 is very, very similar to the example that's up on the board. You want to go plot these out, okay? Your years are at the bottom, and then the percent of both is the y-axis. So you're going to go plot those out. 88 to 36, 92 to 43, 96 to 32, 2000 to 32, and so on. Plot that out, see what happens, and then describe what correlation it has, okay? Now, 2 and 3, those are fairly easy. Those are asking what correlations those are. Go ahead and write those. Eddie, be gone, please. Eddie, be gone, please. Number 4 is asking you about that scenario. It wants you to explain what you think it is. And then 5, 6, 7, and 8, that's taking that data, plotting it out, and then figuring out what the trend line is, what the correlation is, and so on. So you really only know 3 things here, right? You need to know whether it's going up or down, or if there's no correlation at all, right? To be able to describe a graph. So that worksheet doesn't take very long at all.
How do you
When
do
you're
that?
done with the worksheet, you have questions, 12 questions on the back that is your actual assignment. How do you do it? You plot X and Y. X and Y.
Do it, the 69 with the,
I know where you're going with this. That's an excellent question. Let's talk about that. 96 and 91. This tells us the year, right? So here's our years. Here's the species. So species should be on this side, and years should be on this side, and we can go plot this out. So we start with the year 96, then we go to 91, and we plot it out. Same thing on your worksheet. Your graph will actually tell you what data goes where. Okay?
So the date always goes at the bottom.
Not necessarily, it all depends. But typically time goes at the bottom, typically. Because height, what would happen with height? These go up or down, right? Not left or right. Where time would go left and right.
We're doing this one or
Do
this?
that too? Like,
You're doing both, but this is the worksheet manual. The worksheet is the do now. You only have a handful of questions, it doesn't take very long. Yes, Levi. Okay, good talk.